Somewhere in a quiet WWE facility right now, a man is lacing up his wrestling boots, preparing for a fight that a lot of casual fans never saw coming. It's a fight against the man who publicly dismissed him as nothing more than a failed, washed-up suit. But behind that expensive three-piece outfit is a former world champion who is reportedly getting ready to step back inside the squared circle and prove to the entire wrestling world exactly how wrong the ring general really is. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to WWE Galaxy. I'm Nova. Now look, if you missed the sheer, unmitigated chaos of what went down between Gunther and SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis last Friday night, stop this video, go watch the footage, and then come right back. Because we are moving at lightning speed today, and I'm not slowing down to catch anyone up. What I want to dissect today is the massive fallout of that attack. Because according to multiple heavy-hitting insiders, WWE corporate isn't looking to send a roster bodyguard to shield their general manager from the ring general. No, they are preparing to let the boss handle his own business the old-fashioned way, with his own two hands. We are looking at a historic in-ring debut that has been 3 years in the making. Before we look at the future, let's lay out where we stand in the present, because the board is in a very weird place right now. Currently, both Gunther and Nick Aldis are sitting on storyline suspensions following the absolute madness at Night of Champions and the physical crash out we saw on SmackDown. But even with both men officially off the board for the week, the wheels of creative are still turning. We already have the massive tag team match locked in for Saturday night's main event on July 18th at Madison Square Garden. Gunther is teaming up with Sami Zayn to take on the blockbuster team of CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. That match is guaranteed, it is official, and the MSG crowd is going to be absolutely electric for it. But notice what is missing from that graphic. There is no mention of Nick Aldis. The general manager's fate is still up in the air, hanging over the entire blue brand like a dark cloud. And that silence is exactly where the real story begins to leak out. Let's start with the massive report that dropped on WrestleVotes Radio over at Fightful Select. According to their sources, once this physical program inevitably returns to our television screens, Nick Aldis is not going to hide behind the roster. In the past, whenever a heel got too big for their boots, the GM would hire a mercenary or sign a contract for some hot babyface to fight their battles for them. But the internal expectation backstage is that Aldis is skipping the middleman entirely. He isn't booking a proxy, he isn't putting up a bounty, he is stepping up to handle the problem himself. Think about how massive that is. WWE has an entire locker room full of absolute giants who would jump at the chance to defend the honor of the blue brand's boss. They could have easily teased a returning babyface or a rising star to step in. Instead, they are pointing the spotlight directly at the man who has been trapped behind a corporate desk for nearly 3 years. That is not just a standard creative direction. That is a deeply personal, localized grudge match. And here is why you need to take this report seriously. This isn't just one isolated rumor floating around on a random wrestling forum. We are seeing a rare, absolute consensus across the entire dirt sheet landscape. Dave Meltzer broke it down on Wrestling Observer Radio, stating flat out that the internal target for Nick Aldis versus Gunther is indeed SummerSlam. Shortly after, WrestleVotes backed up that exact timeline with their own independent sourcing. And if that wasn't enough, the highly reliable insider Mask J over on Trendbickle took to social media to officially confirm that this match is the active plan for the biggest party of the summer in Minneapolis. Look, WWE hasn't posted an official match card graphic yet. The commentators haven't hyped it up on Raw or SmackDown, but when 3 entirely separate high-level outlets independently verify the exact same creative plan, that is not a coincidence. That is a locked-in backstage reality that is just waiting for the cameras to start rolling. Now let's talk about the narrative of the failed wrestler that Gunther is trying to push, because what almost nobody in the mainstream WWE bubble is bringing up right now is that Nick Aldis has a legitimate championship pedigree. If you only know him from his GM role, you are missing out on some incredible wrestling history. We have to go back to the historic original All-In event before EU even existed. That night, Nick Aldis stood in the main event as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, defending the historic 10 pounds of gold against Cody Cody Rhodes in one of the most emotional, high-stakes matches of the modern era. Aldis lost that night in a classic, but he didn't just fade away. He went back to work, rebuilt his momentum, and actually won the World Championship back from Cody at a subsequent NWA event. This is not a guy whose in-ring resume is some forgotten footnote buried deep on a Wikipedia page. He has stood face-to-face with the top guy in this industry today, beat him for a world title, and did it long before either of them had a WWE spotlight anywhere near this big. I do want to address the skeptics out there, because we've been down a similar road before. Not too long ago, we saw Drew McIntyre spend weeks verbally assaulting Aldis, accusing him of corporate favoritism and practically begging for a fight. Back then, the internet was convinced that Aldis was going to pull his boots out of the closet to teach Drew a lesson, but it ultimately led to nothing. So it is completely fair to look at this new Gunther report and wonder if we're just being set up for another tease that leads to a dead end. But here is the fundamental difference. The sheer scale of the reports this time is unprecedented, and more importantly, the physical escalation is entirely different. Drew McIntyre was a war of words and corporate frustration. Gunther, on the other hand, didn't just argue. He brutally, physically choked out the general manager on SmackDown. He forced the issue in a way that WWE creative cannot ignore. You don't put a GM in a sleeper hold on live television unless you are building to a physical receipt. Quick break here if you caught our previous videos calling this physical direction before the rumors even started. You already know why this channel is worth sticking around for. Hit that like button, subscribe to WWE Galaxy if you haven't already, and let's get straight into how Nick Aldis is preparing for the biggest match of his life. Let's look at the actual physical reality of Nick Aldis in 2026. At 39 years old, he is actually only a single year older than Gunther himself. He is younger than a massive chunk of the active WWE roster. His last official match was back on October 7th, 2023, competing in a 5-way match at an AkiW Bluegrass Con event. So while he hasn't wrestled a match under the WWE banner yet, he has not been sitting dormant for a decade. He's in phenomenal physical shape under those suits. And he is married to Mickie James, someone who knows exactly what it takes to perform at an elite level well past the point where the critics tell you to stop. Aldis is physically primed, mentally ready, and has spent the last 3 years keeping his mouth shut and doing the executive work. The stage is set for a massive, hard-hitting, physical clash that will completely redefine what a general manager can do in WWE. So, I'm throwing it over to you. If Nick Aldis finally laces up the boots at SummerSlam, does he actually have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with the most dangerous physical competitor on the planet? Or is this match simply about him landing one massive, satisfying punch and going out entirely on his own terms? Let me know your predictions down in the comments I read and reply to every single one of them. If you want to be the very first to know when WWE officially drops the match graphic for this war, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and I will see you in the next breakdown. I'm Nova, this is WWE Galaxy. Out.